Thank you for listening to the Three Bros Podcast. Today we air out grievances in the Festivus spirit. Things like family, strangers, sports, news, and Michelle. What the hell, Michelle? Anyway, it was fun just to talk, mess around, a little bit of a cathartic, comedic experience for us. Hopefully 2021 is better, but either way, we appreciate you listening. We hope you enjoy. Three Bros Podcast, Festivus episode. We're at almost to the end of 2020. This is post-Christmas, so technically not Festivus, I think, but who cares at this point? Yeah, we're just airing grievances. I found came across a funny article in the Tampa Bay Times. Let's see here. Readers, here are your top complaints for Festivus 2020. The airing of grievances was more cathartic than ever this year by Christopher Spada. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Which I found interesting because definitely 2020, there's a lot of stuff to complain about, but I think it's completely different than any other year. So I'm hoping to kind of go through a couple of these. Yeah, it'll be different. I'm going to go through a couple of these, ask for the reactions from my brothers here, and let's see where the conversation goes. So the first one I thought was actually hilarious. It's under the category Family and Friends. And this lady from Port Richey says, having to deal with my husband who thinks quarantine, in quotes, means to sit on his butt and do absolutely nothing except aggravate me. I guess he's been quarantined for 10 years now. I mean, when you talk about quarantine, especially in 2020, like I know initially, like the first month, I was like, yeah, that means we do nothing. And then you realize like, well, there's stuff I could do around my house, I guess. I mean, there's...
Yeah, I feel like we've come to learn quarantine is just try to be safe. I feel like that's what we've come in 2020. You kind of are like, well, quarantine, just try to be safe. And going back to this comment, I'm absolutely sure that there's a lot of people who might have been quarantining, quote unquote, for years and just use this as an excuse to continue to do whatever the hell they want.
Right. Well, babe, we can't go anywhere, so have a seat, have a drink.
Right. I can't get away with that. Damn.
Yeah, my
roommate. Go ahead, Chad.
My roommate has decided that life pre-COVID and life post-COVID are arguably almost identical. Just face masks are now involved.
Why do I feel like
a homebody in the time of COVID is somebody who's just doing what they've always done. So
right. Why do I feel like there's a lot of people our age, maybe that I know and Chad knows for sure. We have friends that are just like homebodies and they were before COVID, and like they're just still homebodies. So you ask them, "Oh, has life changed?" They're like, "No, I just sit at home."
Here's the next one that I appreciate. I'm skipping over the political ones. So if you guys, if anybody ever listens to this and reads the article, you might see some political ones that are in there that I'm skipping over.
Yeah,
it's the end of the year. I feel like just having fun. So the next one I have is I have a grievance with my students' parents who have realized their kids suck and decided to send them back to school anyway. That's Orlando. I wonder how many people who are used to having their kids in school or at summer camp or literally not with them 24/7 realize that like, man, my kid's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. No doubt. I literally dated a teacher one time in my life, and the things that I heard from her, just from parents and stuff, like it gets pretty wild, dude. So that can be its own thing for sure.
Chad, how about you?
Yeah, I don't really I mean, I guess I could get where that's coming from, but you're forced to spend more time with your kids, I guess.
I think that's
the understanding here.
Well, look, let's not be too mean. Yeah, Chad's like, this is kind of mean.
I mean, I don't have kids.
Yeah, right. Well, let's not too mean, and maybe Caleb can comment after I say this, in the sense that like, it's probably not that they dislike, they've learned that they dislike or don't, or their kids suck, but it's more just like, look, if you spend 24/7 with one person all the time or a few people all the time, like it gets difficult. It's a little tough, it gets really difficult, right? So like, you want to spend 24/7 with Stacy all the time? Like, no, that's
just for clarity's sake, that's an absolute yes.
I'm
just covering all of my bases.
All right, we'll move on past names. I should have done that. But anyways.
I'll move on here. Here's another one that I really liked. People who come to the theme park on a Saturday and talk about how it's too busy. Did you think that you were the only one in the world with the same idea? What made you think it would be slow on a weekend? It's just ridiculous.
These are like dad complaints. I love it.
It's hysterical. It's so funny, dude.
That is very relevant, though. I worked at a very popular ice cream place, and the people that would complain about the wait when it was like 7 p.m. on a Saturday and it's like 75 degrees out, you know, what do you expect? That's on you. That's on you. You come at noon.
You would say that to them, though. How would you handle that situation?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. We're really busy here. Sorry about the wait. What can I do for you? And you just push them through. You just push them through. But it's like, what did you expect? What do you mean? You chose peak time, and you must know that that's peak time. And then you said, "Whoa, what's going on here? It's a little clogged." Jesus Christ.
Yeah, especially where you worked. Like, if you know anything about that place, like it's busy. Yeah, dude, it's busy on a Tuesday night. Where you been?
That's what I'm saying, right? Are you new? Is this your first time? Because you've got more things to be worried about.
First world problems.
Here's the next one. Cyril, I feel like you might appreciate quite a bit. There's no reason to stand while the plane is deboarding.
Wait, I gotta ask why you thought I'd appreciate this.
Because I think you've taken quite a few.
Yes.
Flights.
Yep. I read ahead and I actually appreciated that one. So yeah, no doubt. There really is no reason.
Okay, I'll push back a little bit on that one since we haven't done any pushing back. I stand up because my legs are fucking cramped.
Ooh.
That's just me.
I've never felt that way.
I stand up for a minute because my legs are on fire.
It's almost like driving for a long time. And yeah, okay. I've never felt that way. I mean, I don't think what's the longest plane ride I've taken where I wasn't able to stretch my legs?
So
I don't think
you did go to the Middle East, so I imagine
you can stretch your legs,
flights.
Chad. You can stretch your legs. You only have to sit seat belted in until you get to altitude, and then you can stretch your legs. Yeah, it's a different kind of flight. But I hear you. You're not wrong.
Chad, we took Xannies. That's how we made it through those flights.
They will give you pills because they know what the flight is like. Yeah, they will. I didn't take mine because I'm a fast and heavy sleeper. But yeah,
these were like okayed by the U.S.
So I don't think they were Xannies.
So the things that Cyril is talking about are not the things I'm talking about. I'm talking about what the boys brought on.
Yeah. I was about to say that. No, I don't think they gave us Xannies, but
no.
I was like, boy, what's up? How do I sign up? That sounds like a great time.
Hey, listen, you want to fly to Afghanistan? They have more secure elections. All right, what's the next one?
That's what I've heard. That's actually what I've heard. So I'm not going to lie. Like, all memes aside, that's the word on the block.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to skip down, Cyril, if you're following along to
so
the
just fired with politics. Sorry, go ahead.
Cyril enjoys quite a bit of golfing when he can.
Oh, I see
Working at a top-tier public golf course on the golf cart staff, I'm stunned by the new breed of golfers that return their golf carts filled with trash and beer cans. For $5 an hour, we greet golfers on arrival, load the clubs on the carts, clean their clubs, clean their pig slop carts, and disinfect them so they're suitable for the next guest. The biggest slobs coming off the course are also the cheapskates. Would you do that to a waitress? And right there, I'm going to say yes. Those are the same fucking people that would not leave a tip, or that would leave like maybe 10% just to be a dick. 100%.
So, if anybody ever listens, it'll be in the future, so I can say this and not care. I golf with a certain person who, when I read this, he really does his best to make sure that they have to work hard when he returns his cart after we golf. So I feel this a lot.
What's the point?
The same person I have to shame into throwing things into the garbage and not into the grass. So, yeah.
This reminds me of somebody that we all know, who shall remain nameless, who refuses to go through self-checkout because that company is going to pay their employees to do something for me. Even if there's a line out the door and there's no one in self-checkout, he will still wait in line just to prove a point.
I don't know who you were referencing either.
We're going to do that after. We're going to do that after, Chad.
I'll text you later.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do
that. Cyril, I can't even believe it.
I don't. So first
sorry,
of all,
I didn't mean to out you. We did say no names.
First of all, no.
Yeah.
I use the self-checkout at Wegmans since they built it every time.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
And I don't feel bad about it. So
minimal
there you go.
Interaction with people is nice.
So it doesn't support real jobs.
Well,
I do.
Supports automation.
Can we not do this? Can we not do this right now? You're about to trigger my mind. All right, let's keep going.
All right, next one is people that don't tip their DoorDash driver anything, yet expect them to drive 10 miles during a pandemic. Bonus points if they're ordering $50 plus worth of food.
This one's interesting. This one's interesting. I'll start this one
Fair.
off. I always try, and I guess you guys don't have to share if you don't want to, but I always do try to tip, even when like I order a sub. It's in the pandemic, I should be clear. Even when I order a sub, like I have a favorite sub place. It's a local shop that's right down the street. Even when I go to my favorite sub place, there are places where in pre-pandemic you're just like, okay, you just made this food and you put the tip line on here. But I've been tipping everywhere I can. I don't know what you guys have. You guys have any thoughts on that? I have been trying to.
I always struggle because pre-pandemic I wouldn't put a tip down because I'm here
no.
picking up my food.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic I have been, but I don't. I mean, it's not like 20%. It's like 10%
no.
if I'm picking it up.
I just give him a few bucks. Yeah. No, I don't do anything crazy.
Chad, how about you?
Yeah.
I mean, I've just been tipping the same as I always do.
Are you a generous tipper?
Nothing.
No,
also, these
I
are
tip,
kind of personal questions, so you don't have to answer them.
Yeah, I tip. I mean, roughly speaking, usually about 10% is that's like my standard.
Even on things where you're just picking up food? Good for you.
No, if I'm picking up food, it's probably like 5%. But if somebody's bringing it to me, you throw a little bit more in.
Oh, sure.
And
yeah.
if you're at a restaurant, it's more like 12, 15, something like that. So.
I'll bring up another thing too about this one. I don't know if Caleb has used it. I'm sure Chad has. I don't like the delivery services. I don't. I think
no, they're bad.
They're so bad, and I think it's because they don't vet who they allow to deliver enough. Yeah. They don't, and it becomes an action.
The problem is that the model is inherently unsustainable. Like there's been a lot of studies done on people who like are Uber drivers, and it turns out a lot of the money they make, they're pretty much just borrowing against the value of their car. So when you don't compensate your employees well, the smart ones will tend to realize they're not making that much, and they will just go the fuck away.
Right.
So you tend to just to keep the sustainability up, you will take whoever you can. I mean, let's look at the surge for the war on terror. You gotta take,
oh my God, what an example!
There is a demand. Wrong. You have to meet that demand, and perhaps you lower some standards just to meet that demand. That's just how.
You're trying to say the only reason why I got in was low standards? Thanks, Chad.
No, you were because of when you got in, you were the cream of the crop, my guy. You were the toppest of the
I was about to say, I feel like me and Chad feel this way because of stories we've heard from you.
Yeah,
that you told us.
I'm drawing from your wisdom, sir.
There's nothing wrong with drinking hand sanitizer, going through alcohol.
That's a wild comparison.
I will say I didn't tip extra during the pandemic because I also worked food service during the pandemic, so I feel I've paid my time.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I get that.
That's actually that's and I'll say this.
I put my time in.
No, that totally is. No, and I'll say this too. I think Chad was saying like, oh damn it, I just lost my train of thought. Never mind.
Terrible.
So we'll move on then. So in the Tampa Bay Times, obviously we're not in the Tampa Bay area, so I don't care about the Lightning, the Rays, or the Bucks. But I will piggyback off of this whole Lightning won the Stanley Cup, the Rays made the World Series, and the Bucks get Tom Brady, and they can't go into any games. What about being a Buffalo Bills fan? So frustrating. Could you imagine the atmosphere of the home games, of the Steelers coming to Buffalo?
Dude, you're triggering me because I had my first season tickets.
On a Sunday night? How lit would that stadium have been?
Dude, the Chiefs came here on Thursday night. Look, this was the season to have. This was the season to have Bills tickets, maybe in our lifetime, because they were cheap still, because they weren't super great just yet, and they had all these marquee games. And yes, they lost to the Chiefs, but you still would have been able to watch Patrick Mahomes. They beat down the Steelers, which would have been great. Like, dang man, like They don't ever get primetime games. They got them this year. Like, this was the season.
Not
COVID, I'm coming for you.
I will primetime games. Because last year they got primetime games, but they were primetime games in other stadiums. This year it was in Buffalo. The primetime games were in Buffalo, and we couldn't go.
It's disgraceful. It's
so
COVID is so disgraceful.
Tough season.
What do you mean tough season? Great season. Tough to be a fan.
But when the Bills do win the Super Bowl this year, there's always going to be an asterisk. You know.
Hey, my guy.
COVID. It'll say next to it.
Championships are championships. They're not saying that about the Lakers.
Yeah, well,
it would be
history will recognize.
Chad, wait for it. Listen to this. It would be very Bills if the only Super Bowl they win is this year, and the rest of our lives, everybody's like, oh, that was just a COVID championship.
Oh, no.
So honestly, it doesn't even matter what they do this year. I want the Bills to win it next year, just so it's
will say
real.
I want
being someone who lives in Buffalo, Chad,
and next year.
I agree.
Being someone who lives in Buffalo, Chad, the people of Buffalo, regardless of how everybody else feels about that, if that's the case, they don't care. They will take their Super Bowl. They don't care.
No, it will though. It'll dig in deep.
Telling you
right now, especially if it's the only one that the Bills win for let's say the next 20.
No, it won't.
Oh, please! All you have to be is like, wasn't that the COVID year? And people be like, go fuck yourself.
Once you win it, you can't take it away. But hear me out, Chad. Is that a little bit
asterisk?
Like, let's
say
a
but,
Steelers or Chiefs. Go ahead.
If there's a but, is all I'm saying. Yeah, they won, but
let's say a Steelers or Chiefs or if they win the Super Bowl, any other NFL fan is like, they won, but you're being petty, right? Am I wrong? You're being petty. You lost.
Yeah, but it works. It doesn't matter.
Do you know what I would say?
Oh,
do you know what I would say to that though? I would say this year without fans in the stadiums, home field advantage meaning nothing, and we're still lighting it up. Forget it.
I want to be clear after this comment, Chad. I thought was a Bills fan, but it could be up in the air. It's difficult to understand. I don't think Chad cares about football.
Let me move on to the next one because I think we touched the nerve here.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to news media here. This one is personally frustrating because I love to do a lot of research, whether it be talking to you guys or on my other podcast, and that is news sites that make you play whack-a-mole with advertisements and videos just to read an article. That shit is so annoying.
You know,
and the only reason why it's annoying is because I can't use ad block on my work computer. So.
Ooh. Neither can I. By the way, neither can I. That does get rough.
I have about 45 minutes of rant material on, and mind you, I've been doing a lot more meal prep this year just to save money on like lunches during the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Stacy and I will take like 2 or 3 meals, generally speaking. We'll make up a big batch on Sunday or Monday, and we'll sort of like, Tupperware them out so it's ready for the week.
Absolutely.
I reference a lot of recipe websites. Oh
no.
My fucking God. Now, here's the thing. I have wonderful ad block on my PC, but when I'm cooking,
doesn't matter.
I use my mobile phone. I don't have ad block on my mobile phone. I'm sure I could get it, but for me, it's like, it's not a primo concern. Anyway,
you don't think about it until you pull up the recipe in that moment.
It's horrible. I don't need your life dissertation. I need to know what the preheat is and how much butter. Do you understand what I'm saying? Please, for the love of God.
Chad has run
terrible.
For the greatest Spanish rice ever. Let me tell you about how I got to this recipe. 1 year, my mother.
I was about to say that, Caleb.
A young lady.
I was about to say that. So even beyond annoying ads, Chad said COVID this year made him do that. Well, I started seeing someone this year, so we like to cook each other dinners once a week, twice a week, go back and forth. So I've had to put in work, which sucks, but I've had to put in work. And Caleb's right. Even worse than the ads. Even when you pull up on your computer when you have ad blocker, because she has a big center counter in her kitchen. She has tons of space. It's beautiful. So I could have my computer out. Even when I have my computer up, there's a 9,000-word essay on how they discovered they could grow jalapenos mixed with habaneros before you get to the goddamn recipe.
Before I explain the necessary essence of Spanish rice, let us discuss the first nomadic tribes wandering out of Africa into Spain.
So frustrating.
Jesus fucking Christ, please.
They floated on logs from Morocco.
So Carl Sagan has this wonderful quote. I think it's to bake an apple pie from scratch. you first need to begin the universe or something to that effect. And I think a lot of these recipe websites took that literally, and they were like, well, let's break it all down. Let's break it all down. Starting with the
Carl
first
Sagan told us to.
atoms at the birth of the universe. Like, Jesus Christ. How much butter? Please. It's terrible. I'm sorry. Carry on, Caleb.
Another nerd touch on Festivus. Let's keep going here.
No, yeah, this is fun.
Fully triggered, and it's apolitical. It's wild.
Yeah, right. Do those fucking.
We found out UFOs are real in 2017, and the news just moved on. Can we talk about this for a few days, please? This seems like kind of a big deal. That's from some guy in Oregon, Craig Tyler.
He is correct. You guys know he's correct, right?
Yeah.
He is correct. A lot of people confuse UFOs with aliens. That's not true. But he is correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could understand why.
I do understand why, but an unidentified flying object could be man-made. You just don't know what it is.
It could be.
And I think what was it? And a lot of by the way, a lot of people who are fans of the current administration, when this news came out, they were just kind of like, "Oh, this is him like releasing." But yeah, the Navy said, well, actually, you know what? I shouldn't just blame it on one people. A lot of people came out and said, like, look at this. But yeah, the Navy came out and said, like, yeah, I don't remember who leaked it. I think Tom Morello was big in that. I got to Google this.
Yeah, you need to Google that because I feel like parts of that are right, but I don't know if the entirety is correct.
Yeah, that's kind of why I intuitively knew I had to Google.
But even then, like, the fact that the government specifically saying something was flying around in the sky and we don't know what it is a big deal.
Yes.
Whether it be another superpower with some sort of tech that we might not be aware of, or whether it be, beings from a distant galaxy potentially visiting us, who knows? But the fact that came out and we just kind of glossed over that shit was definitely. That's
pre-pandemic though. This is kind of like, or is this just general grievances? Is this general grievances?
I mean, it came out in 2017, but I don't think it was officially released until the beginning of the pandemic. Like, it flew under the radar.
Oh.
So the video, I think, maybe. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think the video was released by the Navy in 2020, but that video was taken in 2017.
You're right. So Tom Morello this is what happened. Tom Morello was a part of a bunch of people, apparently, who pushed this to get leaked early. Caleb's correct. And then they confirmed it in April of this year. The Pentagon confirmed
which was the first wave of the pandemic. So people were more concerned about the pandemic than anything else.
And I think in 2017, when a bunch of people and look, let's not kid ourselves, a bunch of people who are, I don't want to say, obviously not conspiracy because they confirmed, but a bunch of people who are like UFO people for a long time, you're kind of just like, you're a little crazy. Like if the leak comes from someone who's been embedded in the UFO community for years, you're just like, But yeah, the Pentagon said it's real. So that's probably why it got brushed under the rug,
Well, it got brushed under the rug because people were more worried about the COVID than they were.
I meant in 2017. I meant in 2017. Why did that get brushed under the rug?
Did it come out in 2017 officially?
I think it did.
I thought it was filmed in a report and a dossier was done in 2017, but it wasn't released to the public until 2020.
Right.
Until the pandemic was going on.
You are correct.
I could be wrong, but that's what I think happened.
Strategic.
Well, that's what I think. Yeah. Here.
No. The Navy videos were first released between December 2017 and March 2018 by To the Stars Academy of Arts and Scientists, a company co-founded by former Blink-182 musician Tom DeLonge. Oh, sorry, not Tom Morello. It was Tom DeLonge. My bad. That says it studies information about unidentified aerial phenomena.
Blink-182 is involved.
Oh, you didn't know that? Dude, he's a huge, he's a wild guy. He was on JRE once. He's a wild guy. Yeah.
He was also who's the other one that's a big UFO, otherworldly. It's a comedian. It's a big
Sagar. And Jetty.
What? That's not a comedian. Are you out of your mouth?
The hell. Sorry.
No. He does like UFOs. Chad's
right. One of the Ghostbusters.
Oh, Eddie Bravo.
That's not a Ghostbuster.
Nope, that's not Chad. Are you out of your skull right now?
Wow.
God damn it.
Come on.
It wasn't Bill Murray, right? No,
it was
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd,
No?
thank you.
Dan Aykroyd. It was Dan
Thank
Aykroyd.
you.
Yeah, it was Dan Aykroyd. Yep.
He's huge into that stuff.
He is. He totally is.
Like not just UFOs and aliens, but like the like spirits and psychics and the all that kind of stuff.
Can we take 2 minutes to say? Can I take 2 minutes to ask you guys both a question? Do you think
all the minutes in the world? Go for it.
Do you think aliens are real in the sense that they have or could travel to Earth someday? Well, I don't want to say someday. Do you think aliens are real in the sense that they have traveled to Earth at some point in the past?
Well, that's a tough question.
I know. Maybe there's not even an answer there.
Would you like me to go first?
Go ahead, Caleb. Go ahead. I got to formulate this.
Right now, with the given information I have, which isn't a whole lot, to be fair, I believe that we are, in fact, the aliens. I think there's a good chance that...
I agree.
There's the potential for organic life to have occurred because a comet hit this planet, as opposed to, like, the melting pot of all the gases and elements and everything that created the Earth, life formed. So in that context, I would say we are the ones, life, animals, plants, things of that nature, that are in fact the aliens. Now, if you're talking about it from like a larger point of view, like is there other intelligent life potentially? I think there is, but I don't think that they have the ability to reach us at this point.
Well, space is so vast. That's the thing, and this is more because, and I'll let Chad go right after this. I'm sorry, Chad, but this is more of a, because nobody knows. We don't even understand the technology. We don't know or understand the technology that could get that done. So how could we even fathom? So it's more of a question of how do you feel about how much time has passed in the universe with the space that there is? How do you feel about someone being able to travel through, not even intergalactically? There's no way anybody could travel, right? Like, see, but here you go, because you don't know.
Right, but
how could you travel from Andromeda to the Milky Way? It's so fucking far. There's a gap of just garbage and darkness, but you don't know. So.
But at the same time, 100 years ago, we didn't think that like nuclear power was possible, right?
Right, it's true.
I don't think we have the imagination. You and I specifically. Chad might, because he's more into that stuff. But you and I don't.
Oh, I thought you meant just in general, humanity doesn't have the imagination because we can't fathom.
I think there are people on the planet that have that imagination and are closer to what that might be than obviously you and I. But
I'll admit that because I'm a skeptic, hardcore.
For sure.
Yeah.
Chad, your thoughts?
Yeah. So, as far as I'm concerned, it seems to me that. I don't know if you. I mean, do you guys know what Fermi's paradox is? I've talked about this.
We've been out at a bar drunk talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, it's this idea that how long did it take for life to come around on Earth? Like 3 billion years, I think, something like that. Universe has been around for.
Oh, just any life? Yeah.
Any life. Yeah. Universe has been around for 15 billion-ish years. Like. If there were intelligent life to exist before us, the fact that we've accomplished so much in 100 years as an intelligent species, if you give even one other intelligent species like 1 million years head start, which is nothing compared to the timescale of the universe, then like they should have conquered everything by now. Even if, faster than light speed travel is impossible, you can do a lot in 1 million years, but because of that, like to me the answer to the Fermi's paradox is life, at least self-aware intelligent life, is incredibly rare. I think we're an anomaly essentially. So no, I don't think so.
We're a glitch.
I think it's stupid rare. I don't think life is rare. I think self-aware intelligent species like us is incredibly rare.
That's factual. I feel like that's factual because of what we know about even our solar system and what we know about how things work. That's factual because of, what do they call it? The life zone of the sun or any star, right?
Yeah, the habitable
zone. There you go.
You need liquid water for life, as far as we understand.
But I have to push back on you, Chad. I have heard that there can be, what's the periodic element that could be carbon?
Silicon.
There can be other forms of life, right? There can be, I don't know if see, and this is where it gets tough because like, can only carbon reach the intelligence we have, the self-awareness we have? Can silicon not? Like that gets tough.
Yeah.
I also like you saying no is interesting because you're factually correct that like what we are is rare, but there's so much out there, right?
Yes, but again, like
It's unfathomable.
With the time scale of the universe, like say take us at this current moment, say we don't kill ourselves, which is another objection to Fermi's paradox, is the great filter that self-aware species just kill themselves off. But let's never mind that, right? Take where we're at right now at our current trajectory and add just 1 million years, which is a drop in the bucket in 15 billion, right?
Right.
We're all over the Milky Way galaxy. Like there would be no mistaking. We would be everywhere. So why hasn't that happened? Are we the first? Or are we in a process of destroying ourselves?
Ooh, that's good to think about.
Or are we incredibly rare? I just think we're incredibly
rare. Probably we're rare. Yeah, if you put it that way. Yeah.
I can, Chad?
Yeah.
All three combined?
I think there is a great filter. You're not wrong. I mean, we are currently on a path where we're destroying ourselves. I don't think completely, but we're certainly doing a job. We're certainly doing a number. I don't know. It's just
so. Not even that. It feels like with everything happening with our race on this Earth right now, like with climate change. Not even that we kind of think we'll kill ourselves. The vastness of space is so difficult to conquer that I do tend to agree with Chad here, because the vastness of space is so difficult. Like, forget about what we're doing on this planet to destroy this planet. The vastness of space is insane. And it's like, you know, we've sent satellites fucking it's 100, Jesus Christ. But even the first satellite we sent is just barely made it past Pluto, right? Like, so it's
there's one of the satellites we sent like 40 years ago, I think, just technically left the solar system a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's definitely a thing. So yeah, I don't. It's. Yeah.
So here's what I've gotten from this: we need to pencil this one as a future talk.
We do.
Fermi's paradox. Sure. Yeah.
Oh, Fermi's paradox specifically? Yes, that's a good one.
You know what we should specifically talk about is what we think the great filter is. What prevents a species from becoming interplanetary? Let's just assume that intelligent life is rare. What prevents species from...
Wow, we have to pencil that one.
Yeah, for sure.
You'd have to be able to transport, right? You can't.
Yeah, but even if like a million years, even if you're going 20% the speed of light, you could do a number on the Milky Way, like given a million years. If you're going 20% the speed of light, you can do all right.
But then you would have to there would be human beings that have to make decisions to, if you want to do that to the Milky Way, there are human beings that would have to make decisions to live traveling their whole existence.
Yeah,
just
generations
to populate.
Yeah.
Could I just like briefly say really quick what I think the reason is? It's a mixture of the fact that I don't think that intelligent life, once you get to a certain point, like understands what abilities they may or may not have. Like, for example, today we're more interested in our personal like entertainment as opposed to like this giant giant fulfilling prophecy of us doing something crazy. Because in order to do that, you have to become like almost a communist. Well, I shouldn't say communist, but a dictatorish type regime, which in our lifetime hasn't really worked out to accomplishing things like that, especially with today, with the way that we communicate. So it's this really thin line of being able to balance our own personal entertainment or...
Dude, it's so true.
Let me think of what the term is, but essentially personal satisfaction as opposed to the collective good. I don't know that there's intelligent life that can truly focus on the collective good while also being able to maintain some type of balance for personal like entertainment.
Yeah,
that's a poor way of saying it, but I think you both know what I mean.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because the other thing that I think is as far as if there is a great filter, I think any civilization that would become sufficiently advanced to travel the galaxy is also sufficiently advanced at creating entertainment for themselves that would be indistinguishable from actually traveling the galaxy. Like VR is something that I bring up a lot. I think considering how complex and difficult and how hard it would be to actually travel the galaxy like that, why wouldn't beings just retreat into a virtual reality of their own,
Right.
especially if you could do it, you know, so good that it's indistinguishable from real life. Like, you're just gonna gratify yourself that way.
Cyril, last word.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the first thing I was gonna say. Last word about this, but even beyond that, Chad, when you have, I think we all understand evolution's a thing. I think we all understand that life on this planet is tailored to this planet. When you have that kind of life that develops, look, you want to enjoy life on this planet. You want to enjoy your existence on this planet. You only have so much time. What does that mean? What am I trying to get it with? What am I trying to get at? It's like you want to raise a family. You want to procreate. Like, your priorities aren't, let me just go waste my whole life to travel a quarter of the way to go populate another planet. Like, it's like, that's like, what do you want to do with your life? You get one life and you have to get enough. I will say this, with the amount of humans we have on this planet, it does seem that once you get that many humans, especially when you get so many different ideas with the internet and different, almost like internet culture now, I feel like we are turning the page on the traditional just have a family and live life. But still, that's a big draw for people. They want to procreate. They want to. So that would be, I feel like, a big trying to get at what Chad's saying with, like, is this going to with what Fermi's paradox saying with, like, life killing itself? I think that goes along with that, because, like, life doesn't have enough wherewithal, because it's developed on this planet and this planet alone. It doesn't have enough wherewithal to get off it and do all those things. Do you guys know what I'm getting at? I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, I think the more important question is, can someone tell me what either coal or slaw is? Because this guy from Tampa says, I refuse to have anything to do with it until someone can tell me what.
Is that another one?
Is it coal or slaw? Yeah.
Sorry? Why does it have to be one or the other?
Well, I think it's at least an interesting question.
Coal, slaw. Does slaw have a meaning on its own?
I have no idea.
It's just cabbage, bro. Some mayo and some veggies.
Cabbage, mayo.
It is.
That's it, bro. That is all a coleslaw is, you know.
Raw cabbage, salad dressing, either vinaigrette or mayonnaise.
Oh.
No way. I didn't know I even like cabbage. I love coleslaw. Interesting.
Well, that ties into me the ultimate life question, and that is a hot dog a sandwich?
It's cereal soup. Listen, if you want to go down this route, like...
You guys are fucking out of control. Yo, this one cracked me up, though, that Tampa Bay Times bias reporting throughout the year. So when I read that...
I avoided that. I fucking avoided that.
No, I know why you avoided it, and I'm not going to make it. That one makes me think, what was Tampa, who did they ask their readers, their subscribers? Did they, like, send out a letter? Like, how did they get these responses? Anyways. Because, like, if you subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times, then why did you respond to them that they're like, I don't understand that. But hey, whatever.
So let's move on, right? Entertainment. Here, I'm not a huge follower of George R.R. Martin. I watched Game of Thrones. It was fun.
Sure.
Episode 8 or season 8 sucked. But more importantly to me, when it comes to the entertainment world, how the fuck did Disney screw up the sequel trilogy, but then come back and get a home run with The Mandalorian? Can someone explain that, please?
Yo, you need to do a whole podcast with JC just on that, because he could talk your ear off.
Him and I would go for hours.
You could.
Hours.
Do you remember the weird little penguin creatures? I think they were called porgs.
Yeah. Yes.
When Ray finally found Luke Skywalker on that weird island he was on.
Stupid island where he's literally squeezing the tits of a weird animal for blue milk. Are you talking about that island?
So the problem is, and this kind of happened with the second trilogy, right? And it was Jar Jar Binks. Is the intention to appeal to the whole audience, kids and adults? Because kids are driving sales as far as merch. But adults are there for the nostalgia factor, right? So you got to, like, try and find this weird balance. Disney's just super hyper aware about that. So they didn't want to rock the boat when they made this new trilogy. They wanted to appeal to the widest audience. They wanted it to be as easily digestible as possible. Like, you just can't... Like, the reason the Mandalorian is working well is because they already know that's going to be more of a niche audience than the new trilogy of the Star Wars. You get to be a bit more nuanced. You get to be, like, a little more specific with the medium. You know what I mean? Like when you don't have to appeal to the popular culture, you can have a more honest job
All right,
at
let me
building a
if
story.
I may jump in here as far as prequels. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
prequels. I would argue that me, you, and Cyril actually grew up with the prequels than we did the original.
100%.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. I remember specifically.
I love Jar Jar Binks.
Watched a video.
Don't say thanks.
I watched a video of this last night critiquing the prequels, and ultimately, what has happened is that the generation of kids who grew up on the prequels, the three of us are included in that, actually appreciated the prequels for what they were. When I remember specifically coming out of the movie theater with Cyril, you might not remember this, but I think the next day, you and I had taped 2-liter bottles and acted like we were fucking Darth Maul.
I do remember.
Each other up with fucking 2-liter, soda pop bottles. The sequels or the prequels, when you go back and you really watch them and you really figure out what they meant to the entire franchise, if not for those prequels, you don't have the Clone Wars, you don't have Rebels, you don't have the Mandalorian, you don't have all the comic books and all the novels. You don't have it. You just don't have it. And the thing that George Lucas does not get credit for is starting the revolution of green screening for movies. And although at the time, especially with episode 1, it was done suggestively at best, like it wasn't great, but he blew the door open for things like Avatar, for all these movies who use green screens today. He really blew the door open for that. My point ultimately in saying all of that is how with the rich history of Star Wars, do you go and fuck it up as bad as you did? And the one thing I will say, one last thing, the executive producer of George Lucas Films, I think her name is Kathleen Hayes or something like that. I'm probably wrong about her last name, but she specifically, I remember, was quoted in an interview saying, well, we're not like the MCU. We don't have this giant backlog of 800-page books and comics that we can draw from for inspiration. And that's just not true. Like, she had all of Legends that she could pull from. Dozens of novels and comic books and all sorts of stuff that she could have drew from and the team could have drew from, and they did none of it. None of it.
No, they just recreated the original trilogy.
It's exactly what they did.
They just recreated the original trilogy. They blew up another Death Star.
The character arc for Rey, there is no fucking arc. She's perfect. She literally can. First time I have a lightsaber, I can fight anybody who is trained with a lightsaber because I'm perfect. I can fly the Millennium Falcon because I'm perfect. Like, I want a character arc. Luke didn't know what the fuck he was doing and had to learn all these things, and he fucked up and he failed.
What drives creation? Money. That's what drives creation. And they made money on that trilogy. Now, can you make an argument that they effed that up and they're going to lose a lot more later? Sure. But they still made a lot of money on that third trilogy. They did.
They made a lot of money with the sequel or the prequels as well. But they made that money based on this false promise.
Disney picked up the franchise.
Yeah.
So you have a different, there are top execs who are talking at Disney who get to drive ultimately how it all goes rather than the creatives who are at Disney. That's just how it goes, man. They spent $1 billion to license it. More than that, I think. Yeah, some ludicrous amount of money, and you already know people are down there, the back of their necks, yo, we got to make this money back and some. This investment better pan out. It's terrible because creativity doesn't. It's not in a vacuum. You don't just have something that's purely a creative endeavor. And Disney, of all people, is going to bastardize that model and put profits way ahead of having some sort of creative honesty in their project.
But it's interesting you say that because then they come back with the Mandalorian. And it's the largest home run, I think.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Again, the trilogy.
By the way, do you guys know Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni?
I do know Jon Favreau. He's a wonderful producer.
No.
Yes. And he produced The Mandalorian. Dave Filoni is one of the original, he did Clone Wars, the animated show.
Sure.
And he also did a lot of directing for the show. Did you hear that they were both in the hospital?
What?
Yeah. They both broke their backs carrying the franchise for Disney.
Okay. There it is. There we go.
Incredible.
So Jon Favreau, Chad, really quickly, has done movies such as The Wolf of Wall Street, Iron Man 3,
Elf.
Mediocre.
Infinity War.
All of these mediocre.
Directed Elf.
Let me tell you,
these are pretty good movies.
Did he direct Elf? Did he?
He sure did.
No way! Holy shit, he did. What else? Jungle Book 2016, Trash, Lion King 2019. Oh, Disney pays him a lot of money. Disney pays him a lot of money.
It's just if you could find a way to remove all of the monetary baggage, you'd get a much better movie. But you just can't do that. You can't create in a vacuum. That's just not how the world works.
Yeah, I think the problem is that you had people that didn't truly appreciate the ability of the Legends lore that already existed, that you could have drew more from to continue to build.
Yeah, but they wrote that, they said all of that was non-canon is what they said.
Correct. They just threw it out.
I totally get that. But you can say non-canon and still draw inspiration from some of the great stories.
No, but then you're plagiarizing.
But okay, sure, but you ended up with a shit product, so.
I agree.
Yeah, right. You kind of have to, yeah.
I agree, man. Well, again, I would argue that The Mandalorian does well, and it's a better... And again, to be clear, I haven't seen it, but I have heard good things. But it's just more of
Chad, are you shitting me?
No, I've not watched it. You think I'm spoiled over here with Disney Plus? All right, check your privilege, Caleb. God bless.
That's what I get for working for the cable company.
No, but my point is The Mandalorian, I mean, they're obviously not appealing to as wide of an audience as they were with the trilogy. So you get a little bit more creative license there. That's all I was saying.
That's fair. I should move off of this because this one hits close to home as a grievance for me.
Man, I got triggered about recipes. What does this say about us as people?
Listen to this. Grievance. Any show on TV land is 17 minutes of commercials and 13 minutes of show. Should be called Commercial Land. Listen here, Eric Cook. You must be young because back in the day, shows would literally be 9 minutes with 21 minutes of commercials. So no change.
That's insane.
No change. So I don't know why you said about that.
I'm so privileged with the media that I consume that when I see commercials in this day and age, and it's usually watching NFL,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm like fully bothered. I can't.
Don't you ever notice when you're streaming new shows compared to like older shows, you notice older shows are always like 40 minutes, right? If they're hour long, because 20 minutes of commercials, right?
Yeah.
Like old 70s shows were like 19 minutes long with 11 minutes of commercials. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like,
what's funny is watching my girls. So I don't have, the one thing I don't have is YouTube. Like I don't subscribe to YouTube to get rid of the ads. And my girls will watch something on my, like if it's something that they can't see on YouTube Kids and they really wanted to see it, I'll pull it up on my phone and let them watch it for a minute. And the first thing they do is, Dad, there's ads. They literally say that. They're 6 and 3, by the way.
That's right. YouTube Kids doesn't have ads. That's right.
Nope. They don't know shit about it.
Which I fully support, by the way.
I actually do fully support that, yeah.
Like, I can't support that anymore.
And look, I think... What does society want us to do? Society wants us to consume. And I think as we move more and more into a modern society, it's really getting more tailored and tailored and tailored. Like it's, you know, you can, if you have the means, you can pay to not have to deal with stuff like that. And so it's going to get more and more like, I feel like a part of this makes us all feel like, oh man, are we getting a little more privileged? Nobody likes ads, right? Like I'm not saying that makes you privileged if you don't like ads, but it definitely is moving towards, it's kind of that idea of, society's moving towards like we can consume whatever we want no matter what. And it's like, okay, that's
yeah. Can I suggest a simple fix?
Oh, sure.
Make it illegal for prescription companies to do ads. Because I feel like all other companies tend to at least try to put some effort into their ads, except for car companies. But prescription medication companies do the least amount of work possible.
Chad probably knows this, interestingly enough, or maybe both you guys know this. Interestingly enough, most European nations ban pharmaceutical ads. America is unique as a Western civilization that they allow pharmaceutical ads. Yep.
We should just get rid of that.
I am of the opinion we should get rid of 90% of ads and make all news subscription based only. Because you don't have to be as sensationalized.
How we run society. It's about money. It's not about integrity.
No, it is possible. It is possible. Ready?
It's not. Go ahead.
All news, you ban ads unless they want to be opinion news, but they have to be very explicit about it. If you want to be a news organization, you cannot sell ads. Subscription-based only, but every citizen is given, let's say, 2 or 3 subscription vouchers for the media of their choice.
Oh.
So it's still profit-driven, but you're working for subscribers, and you're not fighting as much for attention, so you don't have to sensationalize as much. Public funding of media institutions, but it's still like private. But it's still private. But it's still private market, is what I'm saying.
That's not a bad idea. I feel like
support
you've said
local news.
That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea.
You know what grinds my gears?
Go ahead.
And I saw this recently, and again, we're not naming names, but when I see a very young child under the age of let's say 13 even, with unfettered access to the internet and or YouTube,
oh boy,
I cringe so hard because kids are smart.
What? Sure.
You cannot give somebody who's young complete unfiltered access to the internet. You just can't. You don't agree with that, Cyril?
No. I just want to know why you feel this way.
Because there is plenty enough to corrupt a young individual on the unfiltered internet.
And don't get specific. Maybe it's tough for you to do, but what did you see that made you feel worried? Like as specific as you can, I guess.
I'm just aware of the content that's available, and this is literally why they came out with YouTube Kids. But I'm just aware of the content and the way that the algorithm works with YouTube. That there are some bad actors out there who will try and abuse that system.
Correct. I agree.
I remember I cringe. Why would you ever give your child just unfettered access to all of the information that the world has to offer and all of the media? It's like, well, maybe you should hit a certain age of maturity. I would set that age at like 13, where you can have gradually more access to all of the media on the internet, and then maybe 16 you get access to all of it. I don't know, but like, man, young kids just with open access, God bless.
There's research after research, study after study that definitely says, hey, the development of a child is very important in who they might turn out to be, right? So if we're not...
I didn't need any research to tell you that, but sorry, go ahead.
That's actually fair, that can be intuitive. It's true. So if we're not trying to build our kids up in the image that we'd like to see in society, then what do you expect? If you're just gonna, you know what I'm saying, like just let them, because you're right, Chad. There is a certain point where, okay, it should be that we build up these kids to hopefully be like solid participants in society who work and do all these like whatever, blah 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 blah. But of course, if we do those things and they get to a certain age, then yes, they should have all the freedoms that any adult should have. Agreed.
Yep.
But you should not complain about any sort of, generations or anything if this is what they're going to be able to do, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. It's ridiculous. There needs to be probably better guardrails. I don't know what that looks like. I think that's not a bad idea, Chad. I don't know if that. I guess that doesn't apply to children. But the news.
Are you ready for another spicy take? Take.
Wait.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
To that take.
It's spicy.
It probably wasn't targeted at me, but I feel like that was targeted at me a little bit. So
was it?
Address it as though it were targeted at me.
Okay, well, it wasn't in the slightest, but go ahead.
And I would say that the difference is that when I allow my kids to do everything that they do, I also talk to them, and we have conversations about what they're thinking, what they're watching, how to deal with, whether it be difficult things, whether it be funny things, and having that continuous dialogue, I also think is important to have that with your children, so you can kind of help steer them in the right direction. The fact of the matter is at the end of the day, my kids are going to do stuff that I don't like. That's just going to happen. No matter what, that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So the only thing I can do is do my best to at least steer them in a direction that I believe to be the best direction, whether it's with YouTube videos, whether it's with social media, I mean, you name it. So I appreciate that clarity, Chad. It's not at me and my children, but I'm still going to address it as though it were.
No,
I would say, without getting too controversial, I would say not all parents are the same. That's where it gets, like, you're right, Caleb. If you do a lot of the right things, and this is my opinion, I have to say that, but if you do a lot of the right things, in my opinion, then yeah, you can stem a lot of that stuff, and you can actually use it to educate, and you can use it to open up minds and have a great dialogue. But is every parent that way? They're not. So it does get tough. I think you know what I'm getting at without saying it.
Well, it's also hard because, like, from my perspective as a parent, you also don't want your kids to be like left out of the circle of what all the other kids are talking about.
Yeah, it's tough.
There's that dichotomy as well. Like, you don't want your kid to be the shut-in weird kid because they don't know what fucking Blues Clues is, or I don't know.
Yeah,
or whatever. Yeah, right.
We all saw that when we were going to church, as religiously as we were. We saw those kids who were like that had no exposure to anything in the world. And that I don't think that was a good thing for them.
Bro, I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter. You know how big Harry Potter was when I was growing up?
I still read Harry Potter. I was there with you, but I still read it.
Yeah, but I was a feeble, meek child. Listen, yeah, it is complicated because you don't want to make your kids a social pariah, but at the same time, does somebody at the age of 10 need a smartphone? It's just like... I don't know, man.
That's why everybody's not a great parent. And that's not even an insult to some people who aren't. Some people, like parenting takes a certain kind of personality away, I feel. And it's just not everybody can be a great parent.
Well,
that's not to say everybody's a bad parent. Or that's not to say some people have to be bad parents is what I meant. There could be good to great, but not everybody is a great parent. So,
well, it's funny that you say that because that leads into my spicy take. You guys ready for this?
Sure. Go for it.
Oh, God.
You should have to take several classes and pass a test before you're allowed to procreate.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You might not be wrong, though.
Yeah.
So, can I say real quick from this
spicy
podcast alone?
Go ahead.
This podcast alone, we have like 3 or 4 topics that we have to cover.
This has been dope. This has been super dope.
It's just crazy to me. To me, listen, okay. All right, let me zoom out a little bit here. Okay,
sure.
Let's talk about masks, and this factors in, I swear.
Okay, go ahead.
So I am not somebody who would particularly be at risk for coronavirus, but I wear a mask to prevent the spread of said virus, right? The concern there is the general well-being of society over my personal freedom to not wear a mask.
Sure.
To me, that factors into the argument of you should have to take some classes and pass a test to have a child, because I have to exist alongside people in society that may or may not be raised by terrible parents, okay? Just being honest about it.
It's true.
The way you raise children, the way you introduce them to society and how it works and why it works and how we should treat each other directly impacts me. So we have a collective interest to make sure that you are not a piece of shit parent.
It's true.
But hey, that's just me. I'm telling you right now, if I were to have a kid right now, I would not pass that test. So I'm just being honest about that.
I disagree.
But I'm just saying,
the problem I have with that, Chad, is that the bar that would be set for parenting wouldn't be as high as you think it would be. I mean, let's talk about driving, for example. So you can have an 80-year-old dude that's just bonkers out of his mind still be able to drive a 2,000-pound car. Yeah. So I think the benchmark that would be set would be so low that I don't know that it would be effective to begin with. And that's
right, but if I were in charge of mandating this test, it would not.
Which is not realistic, so I don't live in that reality.
I agree, but it's the reality I'm fantasizing about. It's the reality that I'm fantasizing about, and it is not an easy test. I've always said that you can make a pro-choice argument based in a quote-unquote pro-life position, because if you bring a child into this world and your intention is to be a piece of shit parent, the child is better off not having been born.
Correct.
That's all spicy takes. I'm all about the spicy takes today.
That is a very spicy take, because there's a lot of people who would be so fucking offended by that. But
I'm sure. I'm sure. And listen, and that's not to say that every child that's raised by bad parents turns out to be bad people.
That is also correct.
But generally speaking, ignorance, like, what's the saying? Ignorance begets ignorance. I don't fucking know. If you're more likely to pass down to your children your attitude and behavior towards life, and if it's generally speaking not good, then that's generally speaking what you're going to pass on. But,
and look, sometimes you could be bad parents, you know, and still have a kid that turns out good. Great example. I agree. Our president had bad parents. He turned out great. Go ahead, Gil.
If I may, I'm going to move into the last grievance here, and this is my personal grievance along with somebody on this list, and that is my grievance is gestures broadly at everything. That sums up 2020 for me, my guy.
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
What, everything? I will say this. There are things that happened in my life in 2020 that I feel like will make 2020 different than everybody else's 2020 take for a long time. But
interesting.
I can still admit that 2020 isn't great. So there you go.
Well, on that note, since no one's going to get this far, I appreciate anybody who does listen.
Where are we at? Oh, shit, we're at an hour?
We're getting close to 2021. In this podcast alone, I think we've come up with 3 or 4 topics that we'll probably cover in the coming weeks. Cyril, Chad, I appreciate, as always, you guys hopping on with me and just shooting the breeze.
The fact that we could take a dumb article like this, that was fun. That's fun.
We'll definitely do clear. More. I think we'll sprinkle in like every 3rd or 4th podcast. Will just be some dumb shit like that.
Hey, the last one on this article is the category is just Michelle, and it's, hey Michelle, you snore too loudly. Okay.
I mean, that's fair, bitch. Keep it down, please. Just to be clear, I've written off 2021 because I fully expect half of it to be us still dealing with COVID. So I'm looking forward to 2022.
I just want to keep Chad's spirits high by saying 1 million Americans have been vaccinated. Let's keep it going.
And also about 350,000 dead. But hey, let's keep it going, Doug.
I want to take it one step further, and hopefully 2021 is a huge marker for us, Three Bros Podcast. Hopefully we'll continue to do this weekly get-together. I have enjoyed it unbelievably. You guys don't even understand how cathartic and how nice it's been, especially in 2020. I appreciate, again, anybody listening, and hopefully we will see you on the next episode of the Three Bros